So hitting the record button. So this is the Life IQ community call for the month of January. And as I said, I'm going to probably turn off my video and you feel free to do the same. I'm going to be sharing out my screen, which usually creates difficulty trying to see people as well as being able to lead this. So let me go ahead and turn on the slideshow. So yeah, so Life IQ community. So as it says here, building on a strong foundation for impact and influence. So one of the things that we did last year, I thought it'd be just a reminder again, some of you are familiar with this, some of you aren't, is when the whole COVID-19 started last March, this was something that I started to share with people through this community. And it's actually an idea that I got from sensing from the Lord, just from spending some time with him in January, to work on a strong foundation of a healthy mind, body, spirit. And so put this little tracker together, and I do use it every day. It's a weekly thing, as you can see, but I've been using it consistently now for about a year, and it really helps. I don't hit every single one every day. Sometimes, especially on the weekends, I might not use this, but Monday through Friday, I'm pretty much always checking these things off and having goals in there. And so it has been a huge help. And if you're interested in this, all you have to do to get this template is go to the website. I'll share it at the end as well, but it's called lifeiqliving.com, lifeiqliving.com. It'll just redirect you to the website where you can find this. So I thought I'd throw it out there because that's the foundation we're thinking about, is healthy mind, body, spirit, and being able to show up wherever we are in life with that. As we jump in today, we're going to talk about this idea of our brain. And what we want to talk about is the whole thought is, okay, what do we do with all of the things going on around us and how to navigate this? And I thought this was be really helpful for you to be able to learn some of these brain science. I know a couple of you are familiar with this, so forgive the repetition, but it's probably really good to get. But first thing that we want to talk about with regard to our brain is that it is wired to detect threats or safety. So our brain is wired to either feel safe or threats. And over here on the right, there's this model, and this is from put together by a guy named David Rock, and he calls it the SCARF model. And he identified through doing a bunch of research that there's 5 basic areas that people can feel this either threat response or this toward response. And they are status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. And so the questions that maybe you could ask is, with status, am I important? Do I feel important? Certainty is, how safe do I feel? Does what's going on in my world feel pretty certain, or does it feel very uncertain? Autonomy has to do with control. How much control do I feel over my situation or circumstance? Relatedness has to do with connecting and relationships. How do I feel like, especially in those important relationships, how well are they working? Do I feel like there's a good level of connection with my family members, my close family members, extended family, perhaps those whom you work and interact with? And then the last is fairness. Do I feel like I'm being treated fairly in an equitable manner compared to perhaps others that are in the same place or space? And so our brain, as we go through life, just to going through the different things that we do is always scanning each situation. So your brain is evaluating each situation we're encountering to determine, is it safe? Is this a thing that's helping me in one of these 5 areas, or is it actually a threat where I don't feel like this is going my way in these different areas? When you have either response, whether it's a threat response or a toward response, your brain will release hormones in order to let you know how you will respond or how you should respond to this situation. So we'll give an opportunity here for folks if you want to give some feedback. What are some of the, we'll say, threat responses? They're probably, or hormones, are probably the ones that you know best. So I know a few of you probably know this, so feel free to share.
Well, adrenaline, I think, is one.
Adrenaline, yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one is the cortisol.
Cortisol is another one, yeah. Anybody else?
Norepinephrine.
Yeah, good. Excellent, yeah. So those are three that definitely will kick in and create a lot of anxiety in you. And then the others, the toward response. So what are the good hormones? What are they when we feel good about something?
Dopamine.
I'm sorry?
Dopamine.
Dopamine, okay, heard that one.
Serotonin.
Serotonin, yes.
Endorphins.
I'm sorry, Jennifer?
It was Katrina.
Maybe that wasn't you, was it
Endorphins.
somebody else?
It was endorphins. It's Katrina.
Endorphins, yep. So you're releasing these positive hormones, and they're helping you then to feel safe and relaxed. Now you can imagine, you know what? I'm going to go back one more. You can imagine as you're thinking about different situations, what happens is your brain, the part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex, is the part that is used to do a lot of the thinking and the project work and the setting goals and creativity. Basically what you're using right now as you're listening and a part of this. So it's the thing that's helping you navigate throughout your day. And when you come across a situation, your prefrontal cortex says, hey, you know, is this something I should be concerned about or not? Or, you know, is this a good thing or not a good thing? So again, it's always detecting that. And it typically gets that information based on the past, what it knows already. So if it knows something is a positive thing, it'll let you know that. If it feels uncertain or shaky, then it'll start sending out those hormones that say, hey, this could be a concern. So sometimes a threat could be a real threat where a car, you happen to step out in the street and a car is coming at you, that's a real threat. And then sometimes there's threats that we perceive, we think might be a threat only because our brain doesn't know what to do with it. It's never encountered that before. And so just because you feel a threat doesn't necessarily always mean it is one. In order to live, so we're talking about emotional intelligence now, in order to live with intention and influence, which is what our goal is, we have to learn to manage these emotions. So I want to talk about a few of what those emotions or some of these ideas might be. So the first one is awareness. So asking yourself, so what am I feeling? So I'm going to open it up and again, invite whoever wants to share. As you think about the current place that you're at, whatever is going on in your world and life, what is it, if you were to just offer how you feel about that, how would you describe what you're feeling today.
Mike, Ann here. So I would say I'm feeling content and peaceful.
All right, content and peaceful. Very good. Thanks, Ann. Who else? How are you feeling? No judgment, just share what you're feeling.
Hey, Michael, this is Rick, and I feel a little rushed. So in my heart, just because I have a lot of meetings this afternoon. So I don't know if that's a emotion, but I do feel rushed in my heart.
Yeah. Yeah, good. So rushed and because of a lot of meetings. Yep, good. That'll do it to you. Who else?
This is Carol. I would say accomplished. Pretty confident today.
Okay. Who else?
Anxiety, a little bit.
Anxiety. Okay.
Hi, Michael. This is Jamie. I just feel like a little anxious because I'm trying to slow down and be present here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Anybody else want to chime in? All right. So these are good. So first, that's the first part, is just figuring out, okay, what is it that I'm actually feeling? And so then the second thing you want to do is start to quiet your brain. One of the things that happens if you're feeling anxious, and that's what we're focusing on here, or you're feeling a little bit uptight, or Jamie, you mentioned sort of this feeling like you're trying to capture and manage some things there, is to quiet the self-talk that might be going on in our head and to step away if we need to. So one of the things that David Rock talks about with regards to the prefrontal cortex, and he calls that, or he uses a metaphor of a stage. So thinking about a stage in a theater, and where actors or actresses get on and off. And he says your prefrontal cortex has got a very limited amount of space there. And so what happens is, if we get too many things on our stage and in our prefrontal cortex, then we're going to start to raise our level of anxiety and feel some of those negative emotions. And the other thing with that too is when those negative hormones start to really kick in, they'll actually just flood the stage and overwhelm it. So they'll flood our prefrontal cortex, overwhelm it, and then we won't really be able to think clearly. So that's why sometimes you might feel disoriented or confused or not sure what to do, forgetting things that you normally would remember. So all these are indications that your prefrontal cortex is probably having a lot more flooding going on than is helpful. And so to deal with that is just to, number one, ask, okay, what am I feeling? Is this something that's got me in a good place, or is it a place where I really need to perhaps quiet the self-talk and then step away if I need to, in order to create some space? So I want to invite, again, some feedback. When have you noticed, or when have you done this recently, perhaps, and what was the outcome? How did that help you? So anybody want to jump in where perhaps you had too many things going on in your head and you were able to capture yourself or be intentional and quiet your self-talk, step away, and maybe be able to come back and actually then engage with more better skills? So anybody want to share?
Yeah, this is George.
So go
Go ahead, George.
I use something that you introduced me to through John Eldridge's book, Get Your Life Back, the 1 minute pause, which actually can go up to 3 or 5 or 10 minutes. Using that, it completely gets rid of from my negative self-talk and everything that's bothering me. And I go through that app and then ready to get started again.
Yeah, gotta love that 1 minute pause. I know some of your others are familiar with that.
Michael,
Well,
this is Deb. Sorry.
yeah,
My brain is very noisy at nighttime when I go to bed. And, all of a sudden there's, talk about flooding the stage. I think I do that very easily, but I've also discovered the app, a meditation app, Abide. And that just helps me so much to just focus on the Word of God. And one evening I was listening to this, and the person who was telling the story was saying, today is over. Everything that you could accomplish is done. And now it's time to rest. And that just really helps me a lot, because I tend to kind of go over everything, rather than looking at what I did accomplish. I'm more apt to look at, oh no, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I didn't, and so it's really helpful to have that, just to be intentional. I'm just going to listen to this, and yeah, I just go to sleep every night now. It's not a problem. So very helpful.
yeah, yeah. So Abide app, and who puts that out?
I think it's Abide. You
Okay.
can just find it. Yeah.
All right. I just put it in the chat box, but if others want to add some others to, so I put the 1 minute
there are
pause by
others
Eldridge and the Abide app. Yeah. So if anybody else wants to add anything to the chat box, what you've done to quiet your brain and get back into a productive state, that'd be great. All right. Next one to do is set expectations. So what am I expecting? So we think about this idea of creating expectations. And if we think something is going to be hard, it probably is going to be hard. If we go into it thinking that this is going to be a new opportunity to learn, to grow, perhaps being stretched, whatever, that's a different kind of mindset. It's a different kind of way of thinking about things. And so in order to deal with some of the emotions that we might be feeling as we learn about or step into a new situation in particular, we want to be aware of what am I expecting? What am I telling myself this is? Is this, again, an idea of a threat or a positive experience? And because it's a new situation, we tend to think about the idea of being cautious. That's our innate way of going about it. Now, some people are definitely optimists. They look at new things and not feeling any of that, and that's okay. And if that's the way you're wired, that's great. But just notice if you're finding yourself with what you're expecting in a situation, and it could even be a conversation you're going to have. It could be as you're going about your work and business. What are the expectations that you have for who's coming, who isn't coming, who's going to be part of it, who isn't part of it? Whatever you're doing, how is it going to go? So just notice what you're doing there, and then that brings up this last idea, which is the focus. So we want to be able to focus our brains to be solution, not problem focused. We want to think, what can I do here in order to have an outcome that I feel good about and that I'm going to feel is going to work well for me in this situation. So you've all probably heard about having a learner or growth mindset and not look for what's wrong. So by being able to focus our attention on what's going to be a solution and thinking about solutions, we're going to be able to hold down some of those negative emotions again and deal with that threat response. So those are 4 good little tips to take and put into use. I want to jump back then just real quick and talk about the SCARF model again. So the idea, am I feeling my status? How is that feeling? My certainty, autonomy, relatedness, fairness. So if we were to look at this again, just for practical use and application as we think about wrapping up and takeaways, which one of these areas do you feel right now you have the most of a threat response? And just open it up for whoever, but where are you feeling the most of a threat response?
Hi, Michael. This is Brenda.
Hey.
I would say in fairness.
And which one, Brenda?
Fairness.
Fairness. Okay. Thank you. And who else?
I would say certainty.
Certainty. Okay.
I would
This
say
is Carol.
This is Jamie. I'd
Go
say
ahead.
I heard a couple of folks there. So Carol, what were you saying?
I was saying mine is autonomy, just
Autonomy.
circumstances that are still out of my control. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Jamie?
certainty.
Certainty as well. Okay. Yeah. So as you think about those different things that are top of mind for you, first of all, you're aware of that feeling. Step away or quiet the self-talk and then think, okay, what am I expecting out of this? What am I assuming? What am I expecting? What am I believing? Right? That's a really great question to ask there. And then set your focus to think, okay, so how can I, with God's help, with God's wisdom, resources, knowing He's sovereign, He's for me, He's good, how can I address this? What can I do here in this situation? And how can I navigate it and manage my own emotions? If you're interested, this is a resource that I created for this called a personal performance plan. It's actually part of a class that I'm teaching right now, and a couple of you are part of it. It's good to see you. It's called Coaching in the Brain. And if you want to get this resource, what you can do is visit my website, crosswayslifecoaching.com and /brain coaching. You can get that the personal performance plan template from there. And what it will do, it'll help you to just jump back, think about what's going on in your brain, where's your focus, what's distracting you, what's your mood, how safe do you feel, what are your expectations? So some of these questions that we were just talking about. So another handy little form. You can take it, do whatever you want with it, make sure it works for you. I encourage that. So that's one takeaway. Second one is become more aware of your emotions, self-talk, and focus, like we've been talking about here, and implement the strategies I discussed. I'll be sending out the slide deck afterwards. And so you'll have a chance to use this. And I put all of these, just so you know, in the future, if you're not sure, in the Life IQ Living webpage. So if you go to lifeiqliving.com, you'll see all the previous webinars we've done and resources. So implement the strategies that we discussed today. If you want to learn more about the brain and how it can be powerful, and we're just scratching the surface of what we talk about and the things that we cover, consider taking this class, Coaching in the Brain. All the details, again, are on that page. And next month, we're going to meet. It's always the 4th Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern time. And we're going to focus on managing change and dealing with change and how to manage that. So a lot of things going on, change and rapid change, and how to deal with those. So we'll open it up. We'll pause there, stop sharing. What questions do you have? Open it up for any questions. Questions, comments, feedback.
Does this, how does this relate to the secular way people are using mindfulness? Is this
How does
some
it
of the
relate to
same?
mindfulness?
Mhm.
Yeah, there's very much the sense of being a mindful as being aware, noticing what's going on with you. And that's really what it is. And then this is obviously taking it a little bit of a step further, as I'm aware that I'm feeling this and I like that or I don't like it or whatever. And then if I'm aware of it, then what do I want to do? How do I want to address that? And one great question is often, what's that belief behind that mindset? So that can be a really great question. What am I believing?
Okay,
What am I thinking about?
great, thank you.
Yeah, who else? Got another minute or two.
Hey, Michael, whenever you shared the SCARF model, you said status, and then you asked a question that went along with that one. I missed that. I kind of came in late. Can you comment on that?
Yep. Yeah, so status is, do I feel important? How important do I feel? Anybody else? Question, comment, feedback? I'd invite, so I'm going to ask Claudia or Crystal, one of you two, maybe Claudia, maybe I'll pick on you. So what has been learning about the brain and brain science been like for you? Just 30 seconds or so, but I'd love to hear from you.
Oh, I think it's incredible. We've talked a lot about the different parts of the brain and what holds memory and what holds new information coming in really from us, not from the outside, and how to clear the mind enough that you can really think, because you can only really focus on one thing at a time. Whereas you've read and read, there's lots of things people can focus on, but that's really not true. You can only focus really on one. The articles that we're reading, as well as the book, has truly been phenomenal. And I was reading one of the articles that we were to read for last night's class, or yesterday afternoon, and it had to do with emotion, the limbic system dealing with the emotional side, but the emotions are actually touched before a memory is. So how you look at something that's coming into you, an experience, and put an emotion with it. You do that really before you make a decision on whether you think it's good or bad and what you're going to do with it, which I think is huge and tells us, a lot about why we are frightened of certain things or get anxiety about certain things. It went with an experience that occurred in our childhood, and they're finding that it really goes all throughout adulthood.
Yeah, thank you, Claudia. I appreciate that hearing from another person about that. But yeah, the emotions tied to those memories will inform you as to whether this is a thing that you feel safe or good about or not. But if, again, you're interested, just go to my website, crosswayslifecoaching.com/brain coaching, and you can learn more about that. So as we wrap up our time together, I appreciate seeing each and every one of you. It's always good to be here. As I said, the last Tuesday each month, we do these, be sharing about managing change and dealing with change next month, and look forward to seeing you all then. But until then, Lord bless you, and we'll see you either next month or sooner.
All right.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
take care.
Michael.
Bye.
Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome.
Michael.